welcome everybody to the Hot Tag. We're just going to get right cranked up and going because we had like a topic all prepared. JayCal and I have been kind of letting it marinate for the week, and then yesterday happened, and we're like, well, what hotter topic is there to talk about on the Friday Hot Tag than what happened yesterday? Which of course we're talking about the silence that was broken from our president, William Patrick Corgan of the National Wrestling Alliance, amidst a lot of like kind of unfounded speculation and rumor that had just, like you said, I don't know if it was just like a slow wrestling news week or something, but for some reason, like people just got a bug up their butt about, oh, let's start like publishing speculation about the NWA with no sources and no like founding of it. So I've got a little recap, and I'm not going to name any sources because you guys are smart enough and you know where you've seen this news or whatever, and we're not here to bury anybody. We're just here to talk about the wrestling culture and what we've experienced. But this kind of goes back to right after the hiatus started. About a week after that, reports were coming out that a certain NWA talent was granted his release. And then days later, we actually found out that wasn't true, and it's not finalized. They're talking about it, but it's not finalized. And then several days later, that talent takes to Twitter and confirms that he's not been released. He's still in the WWE, NWA. And so like our heads are just spinning at this point. Well, then we come out this week, and there's like a little bitty comment made by Raven in a podcast. I don't even think he meant it. If you go back and watch it, I don't even think he meant it as like some newsworthy truth that should be shared, but just a comment in passing of that he thought he had heard that the NWA was shutting down. And dude, let me tell you, then it was like headlines lighting up everywhere. NWA is shutting down. Corgan's shutting it down. It just like started coming from all directions, and we're just kind of like, like our eyes are rolling back, and we're like, where is this coming from? Because listen, I've got sources in the NWA. I know, JayCal, you've got sources in the NWA. This is not at all what we've heard from people that are involved with the company, people who would know this kind of thing. And so my head was kind of spinning, and I was just like, and then, an hour later, we hear from our esteemed president, William Patrick Corgan, that no, none of this is true. The NWA is here. It's not going anywhere. It's not for sale. It's not going to be for sale. And as they said when they went on hiatus, they're restructuring, and I really respected what he said in his statement about the fact that they're trying to make sure that they can put together the caliber of wrestling programming that they want to put in front of us, the NWA fam and the fans, because that's just the high standard that they have. But for some reason, this little lull has just caused everyone to start buzzing. What's your take? How's this been for you?
Everybody's losing their minds. I mean, this is crazy talk. First of all, I love Raven, right? Don't get me wrong. I honestly thought that Raven should have been one of the guys that Billy initially looked at as someone that could help out with creative, help out as an agent. I mean, the fact that he lives in Atlanta and they're taping in Atlanta. But we're talking about a relationship that's been removed for about a decade. Billy and Raven aren't best buddies. They're not hanging out. They're not going on tour with Smashing Pumpkins. This is great. Why is anyone buying into what Scott Levy has to say? I love Raven. I do. But it was, like you said, it was an offhand comment. Oh, I heard he's shutting it down. Well, everybody, let's take a step back and breathe for a second, because let's be honest, the NWA has shut down. It's a temporary thing. So Raven wasn't even wrong with what he said, but everything's out of context. Oh, I thought he was closing it down. Next thing you know, there's reports everywhere that the NWA is shutting it down. It's like, do you guys understand? Sorry, my voice gets high when I get angry. Do you guys understand that the NWA, has been around since 1972. It's a legacy brand. It's like Coca-Cola. It's like Ford. Whatever you love or hate, it's been around for 72 years. You don't just toss that aside. Billy wouldn't just shut it down. If anything, it's an asset. He could sell it to somebody. And trust me, there is value there. We've talked about that on the Alliance blog. We've talked about that on the NWA podcast. There's value there. If Billy was no longer interested in promoting professional wrestling, there's still value to somebody. But secondly, I consider myself part of the wrestling media, I consider myself a journalist, and nobody vetted that comment from Raven. It was an offhand comment that everyone ran with, and it was like, are you guys nuts? He's not an inside source. And I love Raven, but he's not an inside source.
Well, guys, the champ, Thunder Rosa, is in the chat right now. She says, look at all these rumors running me every day. I just need some time to get away. I love it. I love it. I can hear the bass line in my head, rocking out. But listen, the champ is here. She's weighing in on the situation. Thank you for joining us. Listen, I agree with you, JayCal, man. It's just like, and this is one thing that has really rubbed me the wrong way too. People are trying to look at NWA as if they're supposed to be run exactly like the WWE or the AEW. By the fundamental principles of the National Wrestling Alliance are different than those companies. Those companies are entertainment companies run by billionaires, and they go over the top for entertainment value, whereas the NWA is more of a grassroots, especially right now. We're still in this rebirth. Like NWA Power didn't launch and then suddenly there's cable deals and now we're like at that same level financially or anything like that. The NWA has never shied away from the fact that, look, we don't have a WWE money. We don't have AEW money. It's not. And so all this news was coming out, and what got me was the story yesterday, again, not naming publications, but the title of it was Update on the NWA's Future. And so, of course, I clicked on that, being an active NWA fan member. The problem was that article had nothing about the future of the NWA in it. It wanted to break down some unsourced information about contracts that had been offered and the contract statuses of people in the NWA. And I thought, this has nothing to do with the future. You're just rehashing things that you might have heard. And it was just a reminder to me that that's just for some terrible reason how wrestling media works. They're going to hook you in. But what happened was people took that headline and they ran with it. They coupled it with the Raven comment. And then this story was built that the NWA was shutting down and Corgan's shutting it down and they're all done. And it was just like, it just blew my mind, man. And then I was so glad, getting to the positive part of our conversation. I was so glad that William Patrick Corgan put out this statement that he did. And I'm going to read this here. I'm sure everybody here has heard this, but he said, a quick note about the National Wrestling Alliance, which I fought for and won ownership of a few years back. We are not shutting down. So please disregard any and all rumor to that effect. The NWA is not and will not be for sale. And those talent who are under contract remain under contract for a reason, which is that we at the NWA are trying to figure out a way to provide our great fans with wrestling content in a very, very tough environment. And most importantly, keep our talent safe and the standard of production you've come to expect from us at a high level. Anything less, in my opinion, is unacceptable. So yes, appreciate the interest, appreciate the chatter, but don't appreciate the unsourced rumors and speculation. JayCal, I couldn't have said it better myself.
So, it was June 16th was the last time we heard from the National Wrestling Alliance, nearly 1 month to the day. Mm-hmm. Billy didn't want to go out there and make that statement. They're working on restructuring. They're working on figuring out what the next move is. And it's telling that Billy had to make that statement because so many people were running with this rumor. But it also it does build confidence in the market, and people are going to be able to buy into the NWA because, again, had there not been a pandemic right now and everything else happened, we would still have NWA Power right now. We would still have the Crockett Cup would have been in the past. Nick Aldis would be defending the title all across the country. Thunder Rosa would be defending that title all across the country. The fact of the matter is, the reason why we don't have these things is because there's a global pandemic. You guys, easy, tranquilo, guapo. There's so much stuff going on in the world today. And you guys, there was a series of unfortunate events that led to the NWA deciding to restructure how it will be moving going forward. That doesn't mean that they're throwing in the towel. That doesn't mean they're giving up. It doesn't mean that anybody is forfeiting a title or being stripped of their belts or anything like that. It just means that they're restructuring. And again, in the face of a global pandemic where cases are spiking more and more every day in this country, where 500,000 people have died around the world, where over 100,000 people have died in this country alone, I think they get a mulligan. I think they have an opportunity to take this time to figure out what they're going to do moving forward that's going to be, one, beneficial to the company, two, beneficial to the talent, and three, beneficial for the fans. Billy Corgan even acknowledged the fans, acknowledged the people who are still celebrating the NWA, and I pat on the back to me and Will, and our collectives, our NWA collaborations. But I do believe that they're not going away, guys. They're retooling. This is called getting better. We're going to grow. We don't grow without facing adversity, without facing struggle. This is a growing period.
Yeah, and I saw, I usually don't interact with people on Twitter, haters or people like that who are seemingly rooting for the NWA to fail. But there was one comment yesterday that got to me, and that was a wrestling journalist who had shared Corgan's tweet and had basically said, I still think they're going to shut down. He's had 3 months to figure out how to make content in this tough environment. And I actually responded to it. I said, you do realize up until less than a month ago, NWA was making daily content, right? The tough environment is not just the pandemic. It's also the loss of a very, very key member of the team who was spearheading, creating all this content. So people are still taking this just at face value because they don't know. They don't understand what was going into Carneyland, the great links that the team at the NWA was doing to bring us content, to give you and I stuff to talk about on a weekly basis, even if it wasn't live wrestling. They were giving us the gift of wrestling-related content. And so it hasn't been a 3-month hiatus. It's been, as you mentioned, a less than a month hiatus. And we're already to the point where these rumors had gotten to such a groundswell that Corgan had to come out himself and just be like, guys, take a breath. We're not going anywhere, okay? We meant what we said when we were restructuring. I don't care what Raven or anyone else is going to say on whatever podcast. This is the truth. We're not going anywhere. We're taking our time to figure out how to give you the best experience because we don't want to come back. This is the way I interpret it. We don't want to come back from this hiatus putting out a product, whether it's Power or Circle Squared or something wrestling product that's not up to the same level that you guys have come to expect from this current iteration of the NWA. That's going to take some time. That's not going to be done in 30 days. You're not just going to find someone that can step in and fill that void in 30 days. It's going to take a little longer. And so it's going to require some patience. And it's just unfortunate that because it wasn't just like an immediate turnaround and things like that, that people had to speculate like this. But, again, I'm glad that he came out and said something. He kind of broke his silence, quote unquote, because I don't think William Patrick Corgan loves to be the face of the company. People know that he owns it, and it does give it some authority and some credibility, but he's never been one to want to come out and be on the mic. He's not Vince McMahon. He doesn't want to be a character. He just loves wrestling, and that's why he bought the NWA to begin with. And so, the fact that it got to this point where he had to come out and say something is just indicative of this culture that is going to take something, swirl it up, run with it, try to make a story where there isn't one. So here we are.
Well, let's be honest, too. We are in a culture that celebrates scandal, right? We're in a culture that preaches negativity. Like, it's hard being a beacon of hope, man. It's hard being that PMA all day because we live in a society that they're looking for the bad. They're looking for the negative. It's the TMZ mentality. They're looking for a story. But fortunately for the NWA faithful, hashtag NWA fam, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good. It's going to take time. We're rebuilding. Things get better when you rebuild. They get stronger, bigger, faster.
Yeah, I thought you were going to sing the Kanye song, the Daft Punk song.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try my best not to sing on any of these episodic podcasts that we do because we're trying to grow an audience, my friend, not push them away.
Fair enough. But yeah, and I think I speak for, I know me and the Bearded Trio and yourself, part of the Bearded Quad Squad here, we're not going anywhere. Listen, we got a backlog of NWA content. You know this better than anybody, JayCal. Things to talk about. We could literally go years without any new content. We don't want that, obviously. But and still create weekly quality content that celebrates the National Wrestling Alliance. So we're not worried about it. We'll wait as long as need be. Obviously, we're going to root for it to be back as soon as possible because we love it and we miss it. But that's the thing about the hashtag NWA fan. We're not. It's not a conditional love. It's like we'll wait it out. We're patient. We know that the payout is going to be worth the wait, and so we're just going to keep celebrating the NWA. We're going to keep doing the Friday hot tag. We're going to keep doing our weekly shows, the pre-party. This is the NWA After Dark. And we're just going to keep talking about it. And as long as you guys keep coming out and hanging with us, it's going to be a good time, man. I mean, the community's still here. As Gary mentioned last week, we're kind of the NWA power sandwich. The pieces of bread are still there. JayCal with the pre-party. And then this is the NWA After Dark. We're just keeping that spot warm because, guys, it's coming back. It's going to be back. And when it does, it's going to be beautiful.
It's a meaty NWA. That's what it is all about. And just remember, guys, history, tradition, legacy, respect. These are all the standard bearers that the NWA has stood for since 1948. It's not going anywhere. It's not. It's outlived so many other wrestling promotions because of its ability to grow and adapt. And that's what we're witnessing right here is growth and adaptation. So we will be here. We will be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. You can follow me on all social media at the Alliance Blog. And Will, where can they follow you at?
I am at heyitswil with one L. Always have to clarify that. At heyitswil, pretty much everywhere. So yeah, follow me. We'll be back Sunday night at 8:30 with this is the NWA After Dark, and that'll be a good time. So come join us and hang out in the chat then. If anybody in the chat has anything to add, now is the time if you want to add some thoughts. If not, this is like I said, the highlight of my week, man. I love just hanging out and talking to you, JayCal.
Real quick, I want to do a cheap plug. I did interview our women's champion, Thunder Rosa. It will be released soon. I wasn't real thrilled with the video quality, so this will be the last interview I do until we upgrade the rig so that we can actually get some high-quality content coming from Camp Cal. So I do apologize in advance, but it does have good information, good storytelling by Thunder Rosa. If you like the character, if you like the NWA, you really will enjoy this interview. And it'll probably release Monday, Tuesday at the latest.
Absolutely. And speaking of Thunder Rosa, we talked about it a lot on This is the NWA After Dark on Tuesday, but Mission Pro Wrestling, there may not be a lot of movement right now during this restructuring in the NWA, but Mission Pro Wrestling, man, they are kicking it into high gear. They've released a lot of names that are going to be associated with that event in September. So go check out Mission Pro Wrestling. You can find it through any of Thunder Rosa's social media accounts. She's been posting about it. So go follow those accounts, connect with that. And there's at least some wrestling that we can look forward to that we know is going to be high quality. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for everyone who joined us today. I appreciate that. Again, we'll be here Sunday night. JayCal, you'll be back Tuesday night, and you got an interview with Thunder Rosa coming out, so be on the lookout for that over at the Alliance Blog on YouTube. This is the NWA on YouTube, and this is a collaboration because we have some synergy because we're friends and we love the NWA, and this is the hashtag NWA fan. You guys are part of it. Until next week for the next Friday hot tag, we'll see you guys later.